Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time this video reaches you. I'm so delighted to take you through another lecture, and that is today we are preparing Magnesium Trisilicate Mixture BP. So it is an official preparation, and then we are getting it from the British. We are getting the formula of preparing from the British pharmacopoeia. The person presenting to you is by names at Young Grace. I'm so grateful and delighted and happy to take you through another session, and lend me your ears and let us learn together and get the basics. So there are a number of things that we need to consider, and that is knowing what active ingredients are, what are the excipients that we need. So the second slide takes us through that. So we see that the vehicle that we need when we are preparing our magnesium trisilicate mixture, we need double strength chloroform water as the core solvent, and then we need water. This is our potable water. We need preservatives. The preservatives that we are going to have here, we have double strength chloroform water. So double strength chloroform water is acting both as a preservative as well as a vehicle. So we find that it is performing two roles in this specific preparation. So according to the formula, it gives us a preservative, or according to the BP, that is the British Pharmacopoeia, it directs us to use double strength chloroform water as a preservative as well as a vehicle. Then flavoring agent, we need concentrated peppermint emulsion BP as our flavoring agent, as included by the formula. Based on the formula from the BP, we are required to use concentrated peppermint emulsion BP as our preservative. So double strength chloroform water can be prepared in the lab, or it can be prepared in the pharmaceutical unit, and we can use the British Pharmacopoeia as well to guide us on how we can prepare double strength chloroform water. The same applies to concentrated peppermint emulsion. We also can prepare it in the lab. We can prepare it in the practical unit. We can prepare it in the dispensing unit, because there are some preparations that we may need to prepare them and then dispense. We call them extemporaneous preparations or extemporaneous compounding. Okay, so we see that our flavoring agent is going to be our concentrated peppermint emulsion as per the formula. The formula requires us or directs us to use concentrated peppermint emulsion. Our active pharmaceutical ingredients, the APIs, we have light magnesium carbonate, we have magnesium trisilicate BP, and also we have sodium bicarbonate BP. From the word or from the name of what we are preparing, we said we are preparing magnesium trisilicate mixture. So it is going to contain more than one ingredient or one active pharmaceutical ingredient. That is light magnesium carbonate, and then magnesium trisilicate BP, and then we have sodium bicarbonate BP. So sodium bicarbonate can also be prepared, or you can have it already packed. Light magnesium carbonate as well can be prepared, or you can have it already packed as your light magnesium carbonate powder. And then we have magnesium trisilicate BP. So we can also use the BP or British Pharmacopoeia for preparing this magnesium trisilicate powder. Okay, so this magnesium trisilicate powder, we can use British Pharmacopoeia to prepare it, or we can buy, or we can have already the powder that has been prepared using the British Pharmacopoeia. So after knowing your reagents, after knowing your excipients, after knowing everything you're going to use, there is need for you to know the formula. There is the need for you to have a working formula. So this specific formula, or a master formula, is got from the British Pharmacopoeia, and it is the British Pharmacopoeia of 2004. And you can find this specific formula in page 2561. is where you can get this specific procedure. So in the procedure, we have our magnesium trisilicate BP, light magnesium carbonate BP, sodium bicarbonate BP, we have concentrated peppermint emulsion BP, and then double strength chloroform water BP, and then we have potable water. So here we have a master formula. The master formula always given in BP is up to 1000 mils. Okay, so we find that we have been given the quantities of each ingredient, of each excipient that we use in this specific preparation. So in case we needed to prepare 1000 mils, you find that our magnesium trisilicate, we need 50 grams of it. Our light magnesium carbonate, we need also 50 grams. And then sodium bicarbonate, we shall also need 50 grams. Concentrated peppermint emulsion, we need 25 mils. Double strength chloroform water, we shall need 500 mils. And then our potable water to be added sufficient to make 1000 mils. Okay, so in case we need to prepare a total volume of 100 mils, you find that we are able to reduce the master formula. Like we already have a lecture. We had a lecture on reduction, and then reduction and enlargement of working formulas. So in this specific case, we see that 1000 is less than 100 mils. So this will have happened on reduction. So we can calculate, we can have a specific working area where we calculate for these 5 grams, or how we calculate for different quantities of each ingredient that we are going to use depending on how much we need. So here we can either use the factor method for preparing it, or we can use the dimensional analysis. So here we see that we have been already given the values, but in your free time, endeavor to watch the other video and also try to arrive at the 5 grams. Arrive at 5 grams for magnesium trisilicate, 5 grams for light magnesium carbonate, 5 grams for sodium bicarbonate, and then 2.5 mils for concentrated peppermint emulsion, double strength chloroform water 50 mils, and then your potable water sufficient to make 100 mils. So in case a final volume is required to be 50 mils, we shall also have calculated it, and here are our values. So you can try out still on the calculation and see how you can perfect your calculation bit. So here we shall have 2.5 grams. We have light magnesium carbonate. BP will have also 2.5 grams. Sodium bicarbonate 2.5 grams. Concentrated peppermint emulsion will have 1.2 mils. And then double strength chloroform water we shall have 25 mils. And then 250 mils. In case we wanted to prepare a total volume of 150 mils, we still calculate, and after we calculate we find these values. We see that with magnesium trisilicate we shall have 7.5 grams, light magnesium carbonate 7.5 grams, sodium bicarbonate 7.5 grams, concentrated peppermint emulsion we shall have 3.7 mils, and then double strength chloroform water we shall have 75 mils, and then potable water sufficient to make for us 150 mils. So in your free time, try to calculate and see whether you get these values in case you wanted to prepare the total volume of 100 mils, the total volume of 50 mils, and then the total volume of 150. You can also try with 200 mils, you can try with 500 mils, just for practice, because you can be required to calculate any total quantity of your preparation. Can be 200, can be 50, can be 60, something like that. So after you have done that, you outline or write down your working formula. Okay, so you can work it out depending on how much you want, either the 100 mils, the 50 mils, 150, 500 to 1000 mils, depending on what you want to practice more on. But that's how we get our working formula. Okay, so after knowing your working formula, there is something here maybe you may need to note. Using the master formula from the British pharmacopoeia, for 1000 mils of the final product, the quantities of ingredients required to produce the final volume is needed. So like what we were talking about in the last slide. You will have to calculate the composition of convenient quantities of double strength chloroform water, BP, sufficient to satisfy the formula required, but also enabling simple, accurate measurements of the concentrated components. Okay, so after you have your working formula, there is need for us to do the work now, and the work is preparation, compounding. So compounding, preparation, manufacture, those are some of the words that we may use depending on which area you're in or where you're working from. Okay, if you're working in a school lab, you will be compounding. If you're working in a pharmacy or a hospital setting, you'll be also compounding. And then if you're working in an industry, or if you're using this formula in the industry, you will be manufacturing. Yeah, so there is need for us to know what is the procedure we use for preparation. What do we do? And then after that, what happens? And then after each step, what happens? What brings to what leads to what? Okay. So the first thing we need to do is for us to weigh all solids. All solids we weigh them, all liquids we measure. Okay, so there is need for us to know what apparatus is used for weighing, what apparatus is used for measuring. So the apparatus that we use for measuring is what we call a balance or a weighing scale. Okay, so your weighing scale can be electronic weighing scale, or it can be a manual weighing scale. Yeah, so in case you're dealing with an electronic weighing scale, you need to at least prefer a class B weighing scale, because a class B weighing scale is in position to measure grams at least to 2 decimal places. Okay, so we may prefer to use a class B, or we can say a class 2 weighing scale. So we weigh, here we see that I saying weigh required grams of magnesium trisilicate on a class 2 or electronic balance, and then weigh required grams of light magnesium carbonate BP on a class 2 or your electronic balance, just like how I was saying, and then weigh required grams of sodium bicarbonate on a class 2 or electronic balance. And then after you are done with that, measure required volume of double strength chloroform water using a measuring cylinder. Then measure required volume of concentrated peppermint emulsion using your measuring cylinder. So with peppermint or volumes, we can weigh using measuring cylinder. We can measure either with a measuring cylinder. We can either use pipette if we are dealing with small volumes. We can also use apart from pipettes and burettes, not really burette, please, sorry. So apart from pipette and measuring cylinder, we can also use a syringe, just a syringe that we use for administering medicines to patients. So you find that when you look at the syringe, it has volumes. So we can as well use a syringe for measuring small volumes, depending on which volumes we are dealing with. Okay, so if we are measuring very small volumes, for example, when we need to prepare maximum of 50 mils of the preparation, we see that peppermint is up to 1.25 mils. Okay, when we go back to the working formula, so in that case, you can use either pipette to enable you measure out that, or you can use a syringe. Okay, so any of them can help and should be clear and transparent, so that you are able to read your volumes please do not use a beaker for measuring out these volumes, because beakers do not have marks that may need the points. Okay, it gives you a block value, it doesn't give you a specification for maybe the points. If you have like peppermint 1.2 mils, you may fail to measure it out when you use a beaker. You may fail to measure it out also when you use a conical flask. Okay, so you find that you use something that enables you to measure out the points. Okay, and the most preferred thing, we may say, use a glass measuring cylinder, because if you use a plastic measuring cylinder, it may not be transparent and it may give you issues in reading your meniscus. So at least use a transparent glass measuring cylinder. So dissolve, we are continuing after you've measured and after you weigh. You have weighed and measured. There is need for us to compound or mix whatever we have weighed and measured. So what you do first is dissolve your sodium bicarbonate in the vehicle. Remember, when I was starting, we said the vehicle is either potable water, not either, we have two vehicles, that is potable water and sodium, chloroform, double strength chloroform water. Okay, so when you look at double strength chloroform water and potable water, they are both our vehicles. So you find that our sodium bicarbonate is dissolved in both chloroform water and then potable water. How? We see that the solubility point, the solubility value of sodium bicarbonate in water is always 1 in 11 parts, meaning 1 gram of sodium bicarbonate is soluble in 11 parts of water, 11 parts of the vehicle. When we take an example of, in case the final volume we require is 100 mils, we see that the volume of double strength chloroform water is 50, the required volume is 50 mils. So when we look at the weight of sodium bicarbonate when we are preparing 100 mils, the weight is 5 grams. So if 1 part is dissolved in 11 mils of a vehicle, what about 5 grams? 5 grams are going to be dissolved in 55 mils of the vehicle. Okay, so we are going to pick our vehicle that is a double strength chloroform water, which is already 50, and then we need to make a target of 55. Okay, so when we need to make a target of 55, you'll find that we shall need to add 5 mils of water to the 50 mils of double strength chloroform water that we already measured. Are we together? Then after that, you transfer your sodium bicarbonate in the beaker, and then you pour the 55 mils of the vehicle. That 55 mils contains 50 mils of double strength chloroform water and 5 mils of your potable water. Okay, so you put them in the beaker and then pour the vehicle in the beaker. Then after that, you stir to aid the solution. After that is done, you now have your solution of sodium bicarbonate. Okay, so what you do next is transfer magnesium trisilicate to a porcelain mortar. The mortars we always have are in porcelain form. Okay, then after you have transferred it, transfer the whole of it, and then add light magnesium bicarbonate BP to magnesium trisilicate BP in the mortar using doubling up technique, and stir with a pestle to ensure even mixing. So doubling up is you keep pouring magnesium trisilicate, your light magnesium carbonate, and mixing. So here we are mixing powders alone. We are mixing powders together. Magnesium trisilicate is a powder, light magnesium carbonate is a powder. So we need to mix two powders using a pestle by stirring them And then after we have formed the uniform mixture, there is need for us to add small amount of sodium bicarbonate solution, the solution we made at first, to the powder in the mortar and mix with a pestle to make a smooth paste. After we have done that, slowly continue adding sodium bicarbonate solution until the paste is pourable. So we keep adding in bits as we stir, and then if we see that we can now pour the paste out of the mortar, we can transfer it to what we call the content to a 250 conical measure, or we can say conical flask. And then after we have done that, we rinse out the mortar with more or excess sodium bicarbonate solution and add the rinsing to the conical measure. So we rinse out, we don't have to waste our product, okay? So we rinse out whatever is left in the mortar and put it to our conical measure. After that is done, we add other additives, and those additives is our flavoring agent. So we add concentrated peppermint emulsion BP to the mixture in our conical measure. After that is done, we make up to the volume, like topping up to the volume. If we need 50 mils, top up to 50 mils. If we need 100 mils, top up to 100 mils. If we need 150 mils, top up to 150 mils. With any remaining solution and potable water. If our sodium bicarbonate is remaining, solution is remaining, we also pour, and then also water enables us to top up to the required volume. After we have done that, we transfer the solution to 150 amber flat medical bottle with a child resistant closure and label. Here I have used 150 because I was looking at if I needed my final volume to have 150. So that is when I would transfer it to 150 mils amber bottle. If you needed 50 mils, transfer it to a 50 mils amber bottle. If it is 100 mils, transfer it to 100 mils flat amber bottle and a child resistant closure. A child resistant closure is a child should not be in position to open it. It should be hard for children to open this specific syrup. So after that is done, you will have finished to pack your product. So after packing your product, you label your product. Okay, so after packing is done, label the product and dispense it to the required patient if it is an extemporaneous preparation. If you're preparing it maybe for practice as well in your different medical schools, you'll find that you will also need to give it a label and then give us different parts of a label for your product. If you're required to use it maybe or prepare it in a manufacturing unit, you will as well close it with a child resistant closure and then label your product and then give us other precautions and other informations about your product in a leaflet form. Okay, so that is how we prepare how we prepare a magnesium trisilicate mixture. So there is need for us to know what we need to, okay, when we are choosing the type of the container, which type of container should we choose? So we can choose a plain amber bottle with a child resistant closure. Is the most preferred one for preparation of suspensions for internal use. All suspensions that we are going to look at for internal use, ensure that you use a plain amber bottle. Okay, so this is an example of a label, and here we were taking the maximum volume of the whole preparation to be 100 mils. So that's why we have the quantity of the preparation as 100 mils. If you're required to prepare 50 mils, also put it 50 mils. If you're required to prepare 500 mils, so your quantity becomes 500 mils. And it is the first thing you write before you write the name of the preparation. So after that, you write the name of the preparation, magnesium. Here we are missing E, sorry about this, you can edit it. This should be magnesium trisilicate Mixture BP and then underline it. So we are required to know the composition. However, since this is an official preparation, as long as we have here BP, USP, IP, it shows that it is an official preparation and it can direct anyone who would want to know what is composed in it. It will direct someone by referring to the British Pharmacopoeia and checking for it. That is why most times when we have already an official preparation, we do not put the components or the compositions or the ingredients that we had used. Okay, then a question that you give to your patients, always make sure that you put this in bold or underline it or put it in capital letters. Okay, so shake the bottle before use, or you can say shake the bottle before the dose is measured. Direction for use should be directed as by the physician, but however, sometimes you find that you have received a prescription. So your prescription can have already the direction, okay? So if the direction has already been given to you in your prescription, for example, maybe 10 mils TDS. TDS is an abbreviation for 3 times a day. You're going to inform a patient that you need to take 10 mils 3 times a day, or after every 8 hours in a day you take 10 mils of the solution. But you need to always shake before you pour out, before you measure the dose, before you measure the 10 mils. So 10 mils is equivalent to 2 spoonfuls. A spoon, a teaspoon is 5 mils, equivalent to 5 mils. So 10 mils, you need 2 spoonfuls. Okay, and then the use of this medicine, it is used to treat indigestion. Another word for indigestion, we call it dyspepsia, or we can also use it as an antacid. Storage, store in a cool, dry place away from sunlight and keep out of reach of children. Batch number, allocate your product a batch number. Manufacturing date, allocate the date. Expiry date, or we can call it the discard date, you also include it. And then manufacturer's name, manufacturer's address. If you are dispensing it already to the patient, make sure you have the patient name and then the date you dispense the medicine to a patient. Because once we have dispensed the medicine to a patient and the patient is using, we expect the patient not to take more than 2 weeks after opening the medicine. Okay, so most of the preparation, extemporaneous preparation, do not last for 2 weeks after the patient has opened the preparation. What advice do you think you will need to give a patient? The patient would be advised to mix 2 5 ml spoonfuls with an equal volume of water and take 3 times a day, just like what we were saying. In addition, the discard date and the need to shake the bottle before use would be highlighted in the label. So, magnesium trisilicate mixture is a suspension. There are some of the instabilities or problems that can happen to suspensions. We also need to have it in mind and then ask a patient in case they see any changes with the product, they return the product back to us. So the examples of those problems that may arise with suspensions, we have aggregation of particles, there is what we call cake formation, and then locking of cup. Then we have changes of organoleptic properties. We have a number of organoleptic properties, and then crystal growth, then a change of a pH, and then dispersibility. So those are the few problems that may arise. So when we were looking at the procedure for preparing, we said we add light magnesium carbonate BP to magnesium trisilicate by doubling up technique. So I thought of sharing with you what the doubling up technique requires us to do and what happens, how do we do it. So doubling up technique is a technique that we need to know and it should be in our minds. So what you do is weigh the powder present in small volume and place in the mortar. After you've done that, weigh a powder present in the next largest volume and also place on a labeled weighing paper. After you have done that, add approximately the same amount of powder B as powder A in the mortar. Mix well with the pestle. So it is a matter of having the other product and this product mixed together. We are doubling up the volume, we are doubling up the weight of the final powder that we require. That is doubling up. Then continue adding an amount of powder B that is approximately the same as that in the mortar, and then mix the pestle. That is to say, doubling the amount of the powder in the mortar at each addition. If further powders are to be added, add this in increasing order of volume as in parts, that is 3 parts, 4 parts, and 5 parts and above. So that brings us to the end of this lecture. Thank you so much for listening. If you came this far listening to this specific video, I really want to appreciate that. It means you liked the lecture and then you were understanding. For those who have not got anything, please try to watch or rewatch the video, and then if you have any areas that you need more clarification, please send for us in the comment section so that we see how we can help you and how we can guide you. And also it enables us to guide you more and know which areas to put more emphasis when we are making the next video. Please stay tuned and keep loving Graph Academy for more pharmaceutical